So today we're going to take a look at a little video, and I'm going to go through the forgiveness instructions and talk about forgiveness in general. Although I think in general, I think everybody knows what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not, it's not talked about directly in the suttas, and because everybody keeps asking, geez, well, where's the proof that forgiveness was taught by the Buddha? Well, forgiveness wasn't taught by the Buddhists per se, but the monks had to do a forgiveness of any wrongs that they did at the full moon. And whenever they had many rules, and whenever they broke a rule, they had to ask forgiveness of the chief monk, and they had to maybe do some penances and things like that. So forgiveness is, it's just a natural part of life, and it certainly is part of Buddhism. Forgiveness is a part of loving kindness, if you will. It's a softening, it's a letting go. It's a kind of a version of the 6 R's. So what we're going to do is go through the forgiveness instructions, and this is posted on our website under the support documents. You can find this little version here of forgiveness meditation. Let's see if I can go back to that. Okay, I'll get there in a second here. Okay, everybody can see this okay? All right. So Bhante wrote a book about forgiveness, and that's of course available. But what he's done recently, just as an update, is that he's removed the 6 R's out of forgiveness. And forgiveness is 6 R's, but the actually doing 6 R's in the middle of like getting involved in, say, some sadness, it was getting people confused. They were going off and they couldn't figure out how to do the forgiveness with the 6 R's. So the fact is, you don't really need the 6 R's is the forgiveness. So all we do now is we forgive, and then we relax, and then we come back. So let's go through these instructions. It's about 4 pages. I'll read a lot of this. This instruction here has been put together over the last few years, and we keep modifying it and keep coming up with little tweaks and things like that. So you may recognize some of it. This meditation is the practice of compassion and generosity towards yourself and others. It is an act of kindness. So set aside a minimum of 30 minutes each time that you practice. Find a comfortable sitting position and promise yourself you won't move or change your posture. Now begin repeating the phrase, I forgive myself for not understanding. Put a sincere wish for forgiveness for yourself in your heart, and stay with that. Gently smile as you do this. Just put a little Buddha smile on your face. This will keep the mind light. Now, at this point, people get a little confused. They say, well, is forgiveness a feeling? Do we put the feeling in our heart? At times, Bhante says, just put the feeling of forgiveness in your heart. Well, this is not a concentration meditation. We're not concentrating on a feeling of forgiveness. We're just forgiving, that's all. So when you hear that in some of the videos that Bhante makes, a feeling of forgiveness, it's really a wish of forgiveness, it's the intention to forgive. It's just simply forgiving. And if you ever get confused about what is forgiveness, just what if you went up to your neighbor and said, I forgive you? And they looked at you and said, oh, okay, I'm not sure what you did, but okay. And you just, I forgive you. That's all forgiveness is. It's reaching out with forgiveness. It's not, You don't look at your neighbor and put the feeling of forgiveness in your heart. You just forgive them. And that's what this is about. And what we're doing is we're forgiving ourselves. We're forgiving the hard-heartedness that we've built up in our mind, things that we've pushed down, um, things that we don't want to think about. Whenever something comes up that we don't like, that makes us feel sad or grief or embarrassed or humiliated, that's a painful feeling. And so what do you do with painful feelings normally? You run away from them. You don't like them. You get away and you push them aside. So forgiveness meditation is about softening into those feelings, about letting them come out, letting them be there. If tears come, it's okay. You let them be, and it will just dissipate on its own. If you keep pushing it away, it'll stay there and it'll come back at certain moments based on conditions. And it will come in your mind and cause suffering because it's simply a painful feeling. So here we're going to let everything come out. We're not going to go look for it, but we're going to open the door for painful things to come up. All right, so you're going to begin by repeating the phrase, I forgive myself for not understanding. And keep this light with a little bit of a smile. You sincerely wish this forgiveness for yourself. This feeling or wish of forgiveness is your object of meditation. See, I even put feeling here because people say, well, you know, it is a feeling. And I agree, it is a feeling because when we feel forgiveness for somebody, you do feel a certain feeling in your body. But again, I keep saying feeling, wish. It's a wish. And this is your object of meditation. Any feeling of forgiveness can be there, but the feeling is not the object, just the wish. In the phrase not understanding means that in the past you acted negatively to yourself or someone else. Maybe you got angry or someone else caused you pain and they did not understand either. You reacted and then afterward you felt sorry. We have all acted without understanding. This has created guilt and remorse in our lives. But all you need to do is just to keep the phrase to not understanding. That's enough because we know what we've done. We know that what we have not understood. And what we're doing now is we're understanding that we didn't understand at that time. Because now we're smart. We know that anger and unwholesome states are not good. They're painful, and we don't want to be involved with it. And in the past, we didn't understand that. We understood that anger could get us what we want. Now, also, this applies to other people. Other people, we forgive them for not understanding. Not understanding because they don't know that anger is not good. They think anger is good. That's the way you react, that somehow anger will work. Just as in war, if somebody, attacks you, you attack them back. You don't get to the reason why they did it, try to figure it out, try to sit down and talk. You attack them back because, that feels right. Anger is kind of a, it's an adrenaline rush in a sense. I mean, that's probably why there are so many movies with so much anger and violence, because it's such a rush. But then there's the movies that come along that say, well, war was great, but then everybody started dying and then it didn't become so great anymore. And what would happen is you'd have combat veterans coming back. And like in World War II, you had things like that was called shell shock. And that was what we call PTSD today. And these are such horrifying things happen during war that they get pushed down in the psyche. And you don't want to think about them because they are horrifying and they are painful. And veterans will dream about these sorts of things and being back in the war. So this is the perfect opportunity to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness for not understanding uh, what what was going on was wrong, and you shouldn't have been involved with it. And the other people didn't understand that, but they were, or they just simply couldn't get out of it. So we just have to forgive the whole thing and let it all go. So it is essential that the phrase sinks in, that you give it time to work and not change it before it has a chance to work with something that comes up that you did or something or someone else did from a past event. If nothing comes up, you could try another one like, I forgive myself for causing myself and others pain. You're removing any trapped negativity bit by bit with this practice. But please do not use phrases that put yourself down. Negative phrases do not work. Now, when any hard feeling or painful experience comes up in your mind, and then you're just sitting there relaxed, you're repeating the phrase, I forgive myself for not understanding. And you're not dredging around, you're not looking for anything, but things will come up. And so you forgive that, you relax, you smile again and keep going. For example, you could have a thought like, I don't deserve to be happy, or I don't like myself because whatever. If a thought like that arises, you immediately forgive yourself and let go of that negativity. That's a painful feeling that you have about yourself, self-esteem. And that's something else to forgive. So what you do is you forgive and relax in 2 steps. Do this with everything that pulls you away from forgiving yourself for not understanding. Forgive as soon as the thing comes up, as soon as that feeling, that painful feeling, as soon as the vision, the image of that thing comes up. That's what's going to come up first, is there's going to be an image. You're going to see something that's there, and forgive that. And immediately start to soften and relax into that feeling and let it be there. And what you're doing is you're just breaking up this feeling and letting the energy of it dissipate. Now what that is the craving, and the craving is balled together this feeling, this painful feeling that's combined with the story, oh, I don't like myself because, I did something stupid, and you see yourself and you have a feeling about that. And it's all this big thing, and the craving is keeping it all held together. So what you're doing now is you're relaxing that and letting that craving dissipate, and then the whole thing is then later what happens is you only remember something. You don't, this craving part of it doesn't come up. There will be a little bit of a feeling there, but it won't bother your mind because the craving is the I don't like it mind, and that won't be there. And so you'll remember it and go, yeah, it happened and it wasn't great, but it happened. But I don't care I don't care now that it happened. It just takes the energy out. So be sincere and keep up your forgiveness process going. Let it flow with everything that arises. Forgive any stories and hard feelings that come up. Forgive anything that arises that tries to stop your intent to forgive. Your objective is to keep forgiveness going until you feel there is nothing more to forgive. And there is a point where, after doing this meditation for maybe some days, maybe it takes longer, there's a point where your mind just says, I think I'm done. I think there just isn't anything there. And you'll know that. And if you think, well, maybe there's something, no, then you keep going. initially you'll have some feelings of relief. Some people can have a very dramatic feeling of relief. Their body could shake. They could have a lot of tears, and they could actually feel a lot of joy because they've let go of something that's in their past. And it's funny because um, when you let go of a specific item, there a lot of other things seem like they're attached to that. So it's like the branches. So when you cut the tree off at the root, all the branches and all these other little stories, they all disappear too. Don't know how that works, but it does work. And the mind will throw up the tree part. The branches, they might be in the periphery, but there's maybe a few things that are in your mind that everything else kind of attaches itself to. And that one major thing will come up over and over again until you're really fully done with it. As you yourself, memory is a very your goal should to forgive those persons. You repeat the same phrase you use for yourself directly to them. I forgive you for not understanding. As you do this, do not get involved in any story about what happened. In your mind, just look them in the eye and forgive them. Stay with them for a while and let the wish of forgiveness take hold. This time, if you get distracted from the process, you know what to do. No, not the 6 R's. You forgive the distraction. You start thinking about something else, and then you realize, oh, I'm not here anymore. Oh, I forgive myself for being distracted. Just forgive everything. You get restless, and you notice, I'd like to go somewhere else. I'd like to do something. Forgive that. Notice the feeling of restlessness in your body. And guess what? Restlessness is painful. It's a painful feeling. That's why you want to get away from it. So there's a physical feeling that you're trying to get away with. So what do? You forgive the restlessness and then mindfully remember to come back to do your forgiveness. As you do this, do not get involved in anything about the story that happened. In your mind, look them in the eye and forgive them. Stay with them for a while and let the wish of forgiveness take hold. This time, if you get distracted from the process, you know what to do. Forgive the distraction. Even if it is thinking about what's for lunch, forgive that as it is distracting you. Any kind of thought that is distracting you, forgive it and come back to do more forgiveness. Keep working with the same phrases that you used for yourself until there's relief. Only then change your phrases and begin again with new cues. Your phrases might be about forgiving yourself or holding grudges, or for holding negative thoughts about someone. Keep your thoughts aimed at positive change and forgive those judgments. While forgiving, you might have a thought that comes up like, I'm not going to forgive this person because they are just plain mean. They don't deserve forgiveness. Now, this is the tough one. Those people that out there, you think, well, I really need to forgive them, but you know what? I'm not going to do it. They deserve anything that they get, and I just don't want to forgive them because they did wrong and they shouldn't be forgiven. But that is keeping you in pain. You are being upset by them. They have control over you now. Whenever you think of them, you go, I'm not going to forgive them. But what comes up? Anger. So you keep your anger going. So you have to forgive everybody, even the people even the mass murderers, because they didn't understand that what they're doing is wrong. It's going to create a lot of suffering for them in the future. Jail is maybe just one thing, and who knows what will happen after they die. So people out there that are doing things that are not, for example, they may not be getting caught. They'll be caught eventually. And if they're not being caught now, they're being caught in their own mind. Because when you break a precept, guilt arises. It's automatic. It's just part of the mind. You can't say, well, guilt doesn't arise from me. Well, if it doesn't, you're probably a sociopath or a psychopath, and your mind is just not working. And that's very bad. And so you need a lot of forgiveness for that if you want to do it. But in any case, guilt will be there. And what will happen is you see these movies, yeah, I shot that guy. Well, what'd you feel? It's fine. I'll get over it. I'll just push through. I'm a tough guy. So I can deal with it. Well, the fact is people cannot deal with it. And that's what causes PTSD and on and on and on. So, and what we're doing is we're softening. And you always hear, I'm a tough guy. Well, actually, tough guys are not happy. Softened, gentle kind of words where we want to. So I'm not going to forgive this person because they're just plain mean. They don't deserve forgiveness. Forgive that feeling. And then keep on going. Soften and release these thoughts. Relax and re-smile as you return to forgiving. Remember, having a sad feeling is okay. And if tears come, it's okay. Tears take the pressure off your heart and mind. Good thing. So not tough on yourself. Just let those tears flow. Get some tissues or a towel and let them come out. Your objective is to keep your forgiveness going and completely forgive yourself and others. Then any attachment to those memories will just fade away. And what does the word attachment mean? It means that you keep thinking about something over and over again. That's the meaning of attachment. It means that you are attached to a certain memory, to a person, to anything. And it means you can't stop thinking about them. For example, if you get mad at somebody, if you keep having repeat thoughts over and over again, you are attached. You are attached to your anger and you're attached to that situation. So we let go of these attachments. And when we let go of attachments, we're letting go of the anger and the clinging and craving that is with that situation. Third, it is not unusual in this meditation for the person you are working on to smile back at you and to forgive you as well. This is potentially a positive result. Some wonderful relief can arise when this naturally happens. And that can mean that you're done with that person. But be careful that you don't ask them to forgive you, because this is all about pure compassion and generosity. So we're not putting the blame on them. We're accepting the blame that we were in the situation and we got upset with it and we reacted to it with anger or grief or whatever it was. And we're just saying, I forgive myself for not understanding. And I forgive them for not understanding, but we're not going to push this whole thing and make them responsible. We are responsible. That's why we don't ask for their forgiveness. When they realize it, they will forgive us. And this can happen. You can be forgiving somebody in your mind and they, for some strange reason, they look at you and they say, I forgive you. It's very odd, but it happens. And it's not them, it's them in your mind. Your job is to provide the right conditions for you to receive and accept forgiveness from them. And this can happen. If that person comes back again in another session later, that's okay. You treat them the same way again. But this time, the forgiveness will go faster and more easily. Gradually, they won't come up anymore. Now that person is gone. So you go back and quietly say the same phrase again. and forgive yourself until someone else comes up. And you forgive them in the same way. If you aren't sure of when to let go of forgiving someone, just let go. They'll always come back if they need to. Don't worry, they will only disappear when you're finished with them. So you can be working with somebody and you're just not sure of when to stop. When the major part of the anger, the sadness, or whatever dissipates and your mind just starts to waver and starts to wonder, what should I do? Then it's okay, you just let it go. And then you come back to forgiving yourself for not understanding. And if that person comes up again and there will just be like an image of them, just forgive it lightly, just forgive it and come back. So the forgiveness can be light and it can be heavy. You can be sitting there and somebody comes up and it's really overwhelming. And it's a real feeling of sadness or humiliation. And you have to just sit with that. It's not, you can't just let it go easily. And that's fine. So you just sit there and you accept the feeling and you relax and you forgive and you relax and everything's fine. It's just your body's going to feel pain. But just, it's okay. It's only pain. It's just a feeling also. Let it be there. And gradually it dissipates. Now, when there will come a point at times when there really isn't much to forgive. And at this point, you want to just forgive yourself for not understanding and just open your mind and just let whatever comes in, comes in. And it might just be a memory of something that was painful and it was just a slight memory. And you just want to forgive that memory. Just forgive it, relax, and just come back. You never, just like you always have an object of meditation. And that object of meditation is yourself. So you always come back to yourself. I forgive myself for not understanding. You don't just sit there looking around, looking for things to come up. When they come up, you don't run yourself, but you just forgive them and you come back. Okay. You aren't sure of when to let go of forgiving someone, just let go. They will always come back if they need to. Don't worry. They will only disappear when you're finished with them. And, you know, some people will keep coming back for months. They'll just show up and you'll think, well, I was done with that person. But if they come up and you'll think, oh, I don't need to do anything. No, just keep forgiving every time they come up. And if it takes a year, it takes a year. And if it takes a few days, then it takes a few days. It just takes however long it's going to take. So now you can use this meditation also for walking. When your sitting ends, you can do some walking meditation. And in your mind, as you walk, keep on gently saying, I forgive you, you forgive me. I forgive you, you forgive me. This keeps drumming into your brain that you want to stop holding on to past painful memories and forgive them. You want to let them go. You want to let go of all these memories. Forgive anything or anyone that comes up during that time. When a phrase goes dry, it's done. You choose a different phrase and then start again. In the beginning, it might take a little time for your brain to trust that you really want to do this. In the beginning, there can be periods of resistance where nothing comes up. But be patient and continue. So in the beginning, not so much will come up. You won't be quite sure what's happening, but you're just softening and just allowing things to come up. And then later, things will come up, and then later after that, things don't come up. So, you know, you just be patient and go through the whole process. When you're not sitting or walking, you can commit to forgiving whatever is going on in your life. Bring forgiveness into your workplace. Take it into your home. Practice it with your friends. Make it a habit of forgiving and softening. In this way, you can continue letting go of this pain and finally become free from the heaviness of the past. So in summary, you sit for 30 minutes or 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes. Forgive yourself for anything that arises that takes you away from this. Then walk for 15 to 20 minutes in the way outlined above. Just I forgive you, you forgive me as you walk along, and you can time it to your steps. Bhante likes to have people go, I forgive you, you forgive me, and just do this rhythm. And it works really well for some people, but for some people it's just kind of, it's a little hard to do. But the idea is just to walk and to forgive yourself and to forgive others that come up. It's just the same thing. Continue this way for the rest of the day. Forgive anything that comes up during the day. And that's the practice. So, as I said, your object of meditation is yourself. Just like with metta, it can be yourself or a friend, but this is all yourself. And anything comes up, forgive it and come back to yourself. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is play a little video where Bhante just talked about some forgiveness at a Zoom session last month. So.
If the
I feel that way as well.
If the feeling doesn't come up, that means you have some old hard-heartedness wrapped around your heart. And you need to do forgiveness meditation. And we have,
even with forgiveness meditation, the feeling doesn't come up, even with forgiveness.
I don't care. So you have an old attachment, so what? It's only an attachment. It's something that happened in the past that you keep wrapped around your heart, and it takes a little while before you're able to let it go. So you have to continue on with forgiving continuously. Let go of any other kind of meditation, even the 6 R's. When you forgive, you say to yourself, I forgive myself for not understanding. Now, your mind is going to have resistance to that. So, as soon as your mind goes away from that statement, then forgive that distraction for disturbing you and relax. And then come back and say that, and you keep doing that over and over again. What will happen is at some point there will be some memory where somebody did you wrong or you did somebody else wrong. Then you stay with that person and forgive them for not understanding, and relax into that, and come back and say it again and again and again. Eventually, you will be able to let go of that person and what they did, and you let go of the pain caused by that, and you will feel relief, and you'll feel your heart open up. Then you come back to yourself. I forgive myself for making a mistake. I forgive myself for not being perfect. And keep repeating that. And then any kind of thought that pulls your attention away from the forgiving, then you forgive that thought for distracting you, relax, and then come back and forgive yourself for making the mistake. Stay with that until you feel relief. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, that will open up a lot of possibilities for your practicing of purifying the mind. It really does work very well. And we do have instructions in the in our website, and you can read those instructions.
Okay, there's Bhante himself giving you some tips on forgiveness. So is there any questions about this, or shall we just go ahead and do the meditation?
I have a question. I'm just wondering, do we need to keep the same phrase during meditation, or can we change it every 5 minutes, for example?
Up the phrase, maybe use a couple phrases in one sitting, but don't put in a bunch of it, because you really don't need to forgive every specific thing. You're just forgiving yourself, and for whatever it is, and those things will another good phrase is, I forgive myself for causing pain to myself and others. And you keep trying a phrase that triggers some things to come up. You're not going to look for them, but you are kind of pushing the button for them to come up if they need to. So it's kind of up to you how you do that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Oh, there's some chats here.
Hey, David.
Yeah, hi, Taylor.
Hey, I have a question, not about the sitting, but about the walking meditation, but I figured I'd just ask it now. I know, like, you had mentioned that, like, if you're forgiving someone else, you don't specifically, like, ask them to forgive you, but maybe they'll just spontaneously forgive you. But then the phrase for the walking meditation that you mentioned, like, I forgive you, you forgive me, like the you forgive me part, to me sounds like you are asking them to forgive you. Is that correct, or how to understand that?
Yeah. I mean, that's right. The walking is a little bit different in the way that Bhante's teaching it, and we've asked him about it a number of times, and he says walking is more about really pounding into your head that you do forgive yourself and others will forgive you. It's a little bit different approach than the sitting meditation. It's trying to just jangle something out and get something to come up. Plus, it's also trying to develop some energy, having that. It's different. This is the way he teaches it, and some people have a little issue with it, but some people, after they do it, they go, "Wow, that really works. You forgive me, I forgive you. You forgive me." It opens up a communication, an interaction with your past memories. I don't know. It does seem to work. I can't give you the exact reasons why.
So it's a different practice than the sitting,
yeah, it's a little bit different.
Try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you just sitting there demanding forgiveness, or I mean, you're walking demanding some forgiveness, and it's like, really, you're demanding? Yeah. Well, sometimes people, they sit and nothing really comes up, And so they've really got to do something to get something to come up. And the walking is designed to kind of pound it and to get it to come up. And that's what how Bhante explains it.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that, David. Something I've wondered about for a while.
Yeah, I think we've all wondered about it. I have found that some people cannot do it. They just don't get it. And so then I just say, you know what, just go and walk and forgive yourself. And if something comes up, forgive that and just keep walking. It's a little easier. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would suggest everybody tries both ways. If you want to have if you want to take a little walk in the woods or something, you just walk and forgive yourself. And if things come up, forgive them. It's more like the sitting meditation. If you want to do it in the way that Bhante's having it taught and trying to get things to come up, then you do it more as a formal meditation, and you find a like 30 pace area and you walk back and forth. I forgive you, you forgive me. I forgive you, you forgive me. And it really does become a mantra. And for this practice, it's okay.
David,
Okay. Thank you.
David, one questions that I would like to ask is, when do you do the best, this practice, right? Like, it's like, I know sometimes like just doing the metta meditation, some people just don't feel the metta. In that case, is it, fair to say that start this for how many, like maybe 2-3 days, or like, can you walk us through your thought,
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a reason for forgiveness for even existing the meditation. And that is, some people will come to do a retreat and they can't bring up the feeling of forgiveness. Or they actually, if I've seen what happens is somebody will start to do loving kindness and they'll say to themselves, may I be happy, may I be free from suffering. And their mind says, no, no, you're not ever going to be happy. And you know that. Why are you doing that? And they can't, it's like their self-esteem is so bad, they can't really do the metta. They can't bring up loving kindness for themselves. Some people ask, can I do loving kindness for others, but not for me? No, you have to have loving kindness for yourself. So we have, of course, forgiveness meditation, where that's going to soften all of that, those feelings that come up. And how long it takes, on a retreat, it usually takes 2 to 3 days. Once Bhante sees that you're having an issue with bringing up the feeling of loving kindness, he'll put you on forgiveness. Now, it could be 2 days, 3 days. Sometimes it might take actually the whole retreat, and you never, he'll get you back to loving kindness, let's say in the last day or the second to the last day, just to see if maybe it's there and get you a little bit of practice with the loving kindness. But for the most part, most people take 2 to 3 days. I think you've got that right.
So is it fair to say that some people can't feel the loving kindness, so put on a forgiveness meditation for a little bit, and then go back to the loving kindness and see if you can feel it now? Then you can stop, right, to sit onward.
Yeah, I mean, your approach could be doing a few sittings of forgiveness and then going back to the metta. But I don't think that's going to get into I think you used to forgiveness for a day or 2 days, however long, to where you do feel some relief that comes up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. My own story is that I practiced forgiveness for a little while. Nothing really came up. Well, things came up. But I had this one boss that I used to work for, it was a woman from the East Coast. See, I was working at a job in California. California is a very relaxed place. You know, there's, you know, you go in and, you know, you have great things to eat and drink and everything's fun. And well, here comes somebody from the East Coast who's used to working till 8 or 9 at night and pushing and pounding and screaming, and it's just a New York style, you know, the Wall Street style, and it just really shocked us. And I got into some conversations with her and told her this really wasn't helping anybody, and well, she didn't take that well. I didn't, so it just created a whole thing there, and I think she humiliated me in front of some people, and I really just never forgave her for that. And so that came up in my mind. And finally, Bonte was doing an interview with somebody, and he was talking to them about doing forgiveness. And of course, this lady comes up in my mind again. And I finally actually realized what she had done. And it's what happens is the forgiveness, it leads you into an insight as to why you were mad and why it's a problem. And you just see the situation. And I just realized that what she had said at one point was just very humiliating to me. And it just became so clear that I just let it go at that moment. And my body kind of shook. I felt this energy just going through the whole system, and I felt so much lighter afterward. And then I could think about her with no real, you know, anger in the mind. It's just like it was a very unpleasant experience, but it happened. And then the you know, the metta meditation was much easier, and everything was much easier. So it can take some time, and I've been working on that one for maybe a few years. She would come up in my mind, and I'd think, oh no, I forgave her. But no, not really. You really don't quite know. So you just have to see what happens. It does take a little bit to do it. So
Thank you.
okay, if there's nothing else, let's do some forgiveness meditation. And I'll set a little timer here. We'll do 30 minutes, and I'll try to give you some reminders during the sitting as to what to do. All right, get comfortable, just like you would for any kind of meditation. Close your eyes. Maybe take some deep breaths. And relax your whole body. And just let yourself come into the room. Notice what's happening. And it's really useful for any kind of meditation to not jump into something, not jump into the meditation. Actually take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just to hang out with what's happening. Because the mind will naturally start going towards the object of meditation because it knows what needs to be done. You just have to let it kind of come in. Put a little smile on your face. Lighten up. Notice where there's any tension in your body. Relax. Tension in your head. Relax. Your shoulders, your chest, relax. And your buttocks, legs. Your arms, hands, relax. Your feet. How your whole body is feeling relaxed, tension-free. Now bring up the phrase, may I forgive myself for not understanding. And just let that phrase sit there. And be mindful of what comes up when you say that phrase. Maybe you have some doubt about what to do. So what do? We forgive that. And then we relax. I forgive myself for not understanding. Situations may come up from the past. People who have caused you pain. When they come up, look them in the eye and forgive them. Forgive them for not understanding. Forgive them for causing you pain. I forgive myself for not understanding. For those who have practiced metta for a while, please make the determination, I will not go above the first jhana for this meditation. The reason for that is that once you go beyond the first jhana, your mind stops thinking so much. And this is a meditation that involves contemplation. It's not a concentration or even a collectedness type of meditation. It is a meditation looking at situations and memories and letting them come up and be there, and forgiving them and working with them on a personal level. So instead of just seeing it as a feeling, we're actually seeing it as the situation. If there's a person that's caused you pain, we forgive the person. Because usually anger goes after personality. It doesn't go after impersonal things. So this is a personal meditation. I forgive myself for not understanding. If there's some restlessness, I forgive myself for being restless. I forgive I forgive the restlessness. I forgive myself for having caused pain to others and to myself. Just let your mind be open. Don't control anything that arises. Just simply see what comes. If nothing comes, that's okay. Just go back to, I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive myself for having caused pain to others and to myself. And if you want to use the word forgive, just in your mind, you just forgive. Relax. Just to remind yourself When a person comes up, stay with that person for a little while. See them just like you're there talking to them. And look them in the eye and say, I forgive you for having caused pain. Now, at times, your mind won't want to forgive. It'll try to run away. And you take this that you're going to accept change, that you're going to let this pain go, because the only person it hurts is you. These situations in the past are obviously in the past, and they don't exist. And yet they come up in your mind and they still bother you. I forgive myself for not understanding. If your mind wanders, forgive that wandering mind. I forgive myself for wandering around. I forgive myself for being distracted. And then come back to your main phrase of, I forgive myself for not understanding. And you can play with the meditation a little bit. This is not an absolutely solid method where you have to do everything exactly right. You can just see what happens. If things are not happening for you, you can try another phrase like, I forgive myself for everything that I've ever done wrong. Everything. I forgive myself for judging myself. As to what is right and what is wrong. And at times you need to stay with yourself. You feel embarrassed or humiliated or grief or guilt about your own actions. then you have to look yourself in the eye. I do forgive you. You just didn't understand. It's okay. Let's let it go. And if tears come, it's okay. Let them come. It's just another feeling. When we try to stop it, we're trying to control it because we don't like it, because we think we shouldn't cry, we shouldn't feel these feelings. But the fact is, it's just part of who we are, and just let it be there and observe it. I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive all beings everywhere who have ever done me wrong. And that phrase, you can see how this is really just a part of loving kindness meditation, because the next part of it would be, may all beings be happy. May all beings have understanding of what they do and what is right and what is wrong, what is wholesome, what is not wholesome. But coming back to forgiveness, I forgive myself and others who have caused me pain. I forgive myself for wandering my wandering mind. I forgive myself for being restless. I forgive myself for having doubt. I forgive myself for not being perfect. I forgive my family members for anything that they have done that hurt me or caused me to feel pain. I forgive them for not understanding. When pain arises, then soften into that pain. Forgive the pain and relax. Let the pain be there. It's only an impermanent feeling. It won't last. I forgive everyone. I forgive myself for wondering when the timer will go off. I forgive myself for not understanding it doesn't matter. If there's a pain in your body, forgive that pain. If you're sick, forgive yourself for being sick. Forgive your body for being sick. If you have some sort of disease or some little tumor or anything It's in your body. Forgive yourself for having that. Forgive it for it causing you pain and causing you worry. I forgive myself for not understanding. Okay. Welcome back to the land of the living.
Thank you very much, David. This is really, really nice.
Okay, good. See, it really is, forgiveness really is metta meditation, because how do you feel now?
Yes.
Happy.
Happy.
Let go of everything. So,
I have to forgive myself for being impatient all the time.
yes. Yeah, I know. We got a lot to do. We got to get done.
I know.
Can't be sitting around in meditation. We got things to do, place to go.
That's what I'm fighting every day with my head. Any question for David on forgiveness or any other meditations? Like, you know, he's truly one of the best. So please.
Yes, I have experienced sleepiness, and I was trying to forgive it, but it didn't work. So what should I do then? I assume it's a resistance.
So you wanted it to, you wanted it to go away. You didn't allow it to be there?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I
Well,
might fall asleep.
Sleep. Yeah. Well, all you can do is simply forgive it continuously, and either you're going to go to sleep or you're going to come out of it one way or another. But probably the best thing to do after that would be to do walking meditation as the next thing. So, you know, sleepiness is a little difficult because, you know, you go to sleep, but you can forgive it. Sleepiness is a kind of a tension in the mind. And when you relax and let that soften, the sleepiness itself will start to let go, and it just kind of disappears. But it doesn't happen every time, of course.
Hey, David.
Yeah. Hi,
Hey,
Tommy.
hi. There's one thing I wanted to add. I just had a flood of tears during this, and
Oh,
I think when you're in grief, like I am right now, my son-in-law's passing.
yeah.
I you realize that there's so many regrets that you have. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I say this to him? Why didn't I? You look back in the past and you say, I could have done that. I should have done this. And, or maybe there's a particular thing where a moment you missed. Like in my case, the thing that came up was, a time I could have spent with him, a little bit of time, before I hit the road to come back home one time, before he found out he was sick. And, he was there, and, I don't know, I can't explain it, but there was that regret that came up, and just real sadness, and just the tears just flooded in. I think it really helped, because that's been just kind of coming back to me all the time. I've been thinking about that moment in time when I've really regretted that, not having done this,
Yeah. You're just letting it come in now.
Yeah.
It's a period of 30 minutes where you can allow things to happen and see what happens. And it's okay to let anything happen that happens. Because we never, we're all busy in our lives like kin. We have too much to do.
Right.
And we never have a chance to slow down and actually see what's going on in our mind.
Right.
And here we are, and now we let it come out. But it doesn't mean that you have to hold on to those things, because it is only thoughts. These are just thoughts, and we're beating ourselves up. We think, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. And you have to forgive yourself for being angry at yourself.
Right.
Because it is about you. It is about you. And realistically, you have to ask yourself, is the person who died, would they really wish for you to be so sad and to be regretful? I don't think so.
Right.
I think, any rational person will say, please don't be so sad. Just let it go.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe he's in a happier place than we are.
Yeah.
Maybe he's in a heavenly world.
Yes,
Maybe
that's why.
Like, this is great.
That's what I keep thinking. He probably would be the kind of person that would be, because he was always such a amazing person. He was he loved animals. He was good to all animals. He was good to people. He cared about people, even strangers. He led a really good life, and so that's what I keep thinking. He must be in a good place.
Yeah. If he's done wholesome things, he's probably in a wholesome place.
Right.
I would hope so.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So I just thought I'd mention that, if anybody has a loss, like that, it's probably a good time to do forgiveness afterwards, because there will be things that come up, that you regret, that you've been kicking yourself for, that you realize that are that strong maybe until you do forgiveness. You just,
Yep. That's absolutely true. We have all lost people, and we will in the future, and as we have in the past, because if we know anybody and we develop any kind of friendships, or we have family members, they will disappear. And it's going to happen. It's life.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This was excellent.
You're welcome. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story as well, Tommy. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's very good. I think that helps some people, because we're all in the same situation. We all have people that we've lost that we really liked, and it's created a kind of a hole.
Right.
And you have to let it fill itself back in.
Yeah.
And we have one request in the chat that, can we do a session to learn about anger? What can we do about
Learn about anger?
maybe Yeah.
Nah. We're going to learn about loving kindness, not anger.
Yeah.
You know what anger is all about. No. Now, what you could say is, talk about the 5 hindrances, anger being one of those, and how they hurt you and how they bring you down. But I don't think the Buddha ever talked about anger per se. He talked about, removing anger, because we all know what it is.
Yeah, I think that's what.
But yeah, and it's sneaky. Anger is, having regrets. That's anger, because we don't like ourselves for not having done something that we think we should have done. We're angry at ourselves. We're angry at ourselves all the time. That's judgment, So here I am talking about anger now, but it's sneaky. It gets into everything. Just this slight aversion to this and to that. And so what to do? Loving kindness, radiating loving kindness, and be aware anytime they're having any sort of thoughts that are kind of, you just don't like them, you push them away. So you're pushing them away with anger right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question, about self-judgment and self-mortification, which actually I have just experienced it in your guide in this meditation. So should we giving loving kindness to ourselves in that sense, or we should start forgiving ourselves until that the point that we are really feel relief from it, or it can be together. It was a lot of issues, and it was you see yourself in the mode of self-judgment, and which is always happen. I mean, even during the live, but then in the sitting, especially, then that part was exploding a bit more. So how should we address, or how should we look at that with
Every time it comes up, you forgive it. It's just every time it comes up in your mind, you forgive it. Don't forgive it with anger, so, hey, I forgive you. Just, I forgive you. Get away from me. No, you forgive it. You look them in the eye and say, with loving kindness, you forgive. Okay? Okay, now we're going back to, I forgive myself for not understanding. Let those things go. They're going to come up again and again and again, but fine, let them come up and just forgive them lightly. Bhante would give a talk this was before the Dhamma hall. We'd sit in the dining room and he'd be doing talks, and then all the dogs would come in, and they'd be running around causing havoc at the first 5 or 10 minutes of the talk. And then nobody would, Bhante said, don't touch them, just let them be there. Stop playing with them. And then gradually they just kind of stop, and then they would sit down, and then they would lie down, and then they would go to sleep. So that's like hindrances. They come in and you play with them, you react to them, and they just keep coming around and they never stop. And you think you can wear them out, but you can't. They come back and come back. And so whenever you don't, you just simply see them, you forgive them, you relax into them. Gradually they just sit down, and then they lie down, and then they go to sleep. And you don't even notice they're there, and then they're gone. And sometimes the dog would just wander off and go somewhere else because nobody's paying any attention to him. They weren't giving him any energy. So you just have to simply do this over and over again. And there will come a time, because this is insight, also an insight meditation, that you will have a complete release, complete change if you keep doing this. And you don't have that much faith it will happen at first, but it will. So continue.
Okay, so until a point that we feel ourselves at ease, like a little bit more. Then yeah, that's
Until it
the-
doesn't come up anymore.
okay.
But it may come up for, the next, 20 sittings.
Yeah.
It
So that
just,
you go on doing like more forgiveness, at least like on a regular basis, more, or just by walking anytime during the day if I have, because sometimes it's like anything that's not right, like something in life goes wrong. First thing is my fault. Like this is something that I have been noticing. Which is also like is something that I have to get rid of, because this is presumptions that I have are always that makes things even going a little bit like off way. So that's this one observation of like the things that, how should we handle that in that point? Like,
well, you're really just getting into what should I do if I have that thought? What should I do if I have that thought? It's just, it doesn't matter. They're just all thoughts. They're all thoughts about, I did something wrong, or I don't like that, or any thought, remember, it's any thought at all that comes up, we're going to forgive it and just come back to that wish of forgiveness for ourselves. So anything that comes up, you forgive it, you come back. So we don't care what the content of those thoughts are. Just that's it.
yeah. You. Take it
Okay, I think, yeah, okay. All right, I guess with that,
we share merit.
we will. Oh, I'm not prepared to do all of that.
That's okay.
So.
I can share the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Good at that.
Please all join me. May suffering ones
be suffering free. And the fearless be. May the grieving fed all grief. And may all beings find relief.
May
All beings share this merit
that
we have thus acquired
All kinds of
for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May long protect Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
David.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Happy Sunday. Great meditation. Thanks very much.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone. Thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
Thank you,
all.
David.
Talk
Thank
to
you,
later.
Kim.